Hey there, friends. You know how I talk a lot about how the media is really good about using the phrase mass shooter to paint a picture of what it's really not. In other words, they will wrap a gang shooting in the term mass shooter or mass shooting simply because they're trying to create this propaganda narrative that there's some really wild, indiscriminate stuff going on out there and somebody could pop up at any given moment and just shoot you wherever you are. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today. First, guys, go check out my good friends over at CMMG, cmmg.com. These guys make some of the best firearms on the market, some of the best variety of firearms on the market, different types of configurations, as well as different calibers and many different Cerakote finishes. These guys put their money where their mouth is. These guys are one of the leading companies out there who get on board routinely with Second Amendment issues, and they put their money where their mouth is. They are investing their own hard-earned money to protect our rights, and yes, they make good stuff also. Use my discount code FTATF at cmmg.com. Again, my discount code is FTATF for 10% off at cmmg.com. So guys, I'm no friend of the media. The media lies at us at every turn. They have an agenda, whether it's to push, I can't really say the word because I think this video would get taken down, but the little thing that you stick into your arm and you shoot people for that viral infection that we had back in 2020, they lied all the way through that. In fact, now that most of that has been debunked as far as what they called facts back then, they're still sticking to their same lies. And they haven't retracted the lies that they put out there that have been proven wrong. So the media is our enemy. I know that upsets some people, but the media is not our friend. The media is bought and paid for. I'm not going to go into the whole globalist thing as far as there is one person calling all the shots, but there's clearly an agreed upon agenda worldwide, a global agenda that everyone is trying to push. Big money, big pharma, big everybody is trying to push these things. So the media is fully controlled now. I don't know, there may be a couple of people like your Tucker Carlsons and a few folks out there who are not beholden to the almighty dollar. But what I want to show you here today is very similar to what I talked about with the mass shooters. A lot of the American public won't take the time to read a story. So the most information that usually you can get through to a lot of the American public, and people worldwide for that matter, is a headline and a sub-headline. If you can get a headline, and sometimes the picture will correspond with that, if you can get a headline to tell the story without the person having to read the article, in many cases, they're not going to read the article. So it doesn't matter if the article contradicts the headline, because they've taken the headline in many cases and run with it. I want to show you this right here. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but I want you to look at these headlines and think about the picture that's being shaped in your mind looking at these 5 or 6 corresponding headlines about the exact same topic that happened just a couple days ago. First one, police officer dies after attack at anti-Islam rally in Germany. German policeman in coma after knife attack at anti-Islamic event. Police officer 29 who was repeatedly stabbed during an attack at an anti-Islam rally in Germany has died. Police officer dies after stabbing at anti-Islam rally in Mannheim. 6 wounded in knife attack at German anti-Islam rally. German knife attack. Police officer dies after getting stabbed at anti-Islam rally. And finally, police officer stabbed during attack at far-right rally dies. Well, I'll tell you what, those far-right people sound dangerous, right? Those anti-Islamic people sound really dangerous. I mean, it sounds like they're stabbing people at their own rallies, right? Wait a minute. Maybe there's more to the story. This is why you read the actual story.
Several people have been injured after a stabbing in the city of Mannheim. The knifeman, who targeted a right-wing demonstration, was shot by police after the attack. Let's bring in our Europe correspondent, Adam Parsons. Adam, afternoon to you. What more do we know about this?
Yeah, so this happened in the town of Mannheim, in the centre of it, in the marketplace, and it revolves around an event that was being held by a man called Michael Sternsberger, who leads a group called Pax Europa, which is a reasonably well-known anti-Islamic group. So he is a well-known polemicist. And what appears to have happened at 11:30 this morning, and this is from a statement by them, from comments by bystanders, I'd say from a particularly graphic video that has emerged on social media, was that while they were setting up for this event, a man with a large knife approached the stand and began stabbing people. One person was, in this video we see, lying on the ground with a large wound to his leg. We believe that is Michael Sturzenberger. And then the man with the knife is manhandled off Mr. Sturzenberger and then attacks a couple of other people, including a police officer who he stabs in the neck before an armed policeman fires at this attacker who then rolls over. That's the scene that I think we can paint, Kamali. In terms of the details, well, Mr. Sturzenberger, we understand, does have serious stab wounds to his face and to his leg. He has now been transported away from Mannheim, which you're seeing there, and has been taken to a place called Ludwigshafen, to the trauma clinic there. Other members of that group, Pax Europa, have also received treatment for wounds. Clearly, the policeman who was stabbed in the back of the neck is also going to receive serious treatment. We are told that some of these victims are in a serious condition. The police have not commented. There are reports that the attacker who was shot has survived that shooting.
So as you can see, what really happened is that a rally that had not even started yet. I mean, the people for the rally were not even there. Some of the event organizers were there, but the rally had not begun. And while these people were setting up for their rally, and the rally is really just talking about the dangers of allowing these, quote, immigrants in without any kind of vetting or anything like that, and they're transforming the makeup of the population in a lot of these European countries. So the rally itself had not started. This far left, let's use their type of terminology, this Muslim came in with his knife and started stabbing people, the event organizers, and even law enforcement, just because he was mad at the fact that they were about to say things that he did not like and he did not agree with. Remember, this is the religion of tolerance, right? The religion of peace, I believe. So the headlines never said Muslim extremist commits terrorist attack and then use the rest of their stuff against anti-Islamic protesters. They could have made a headline that the passerby person could have taken and at least told their own story. Oh, okay, you know, they could have formulated this picture that there's a protest against the Islamic people who are coming into the country, and a Muslim guy stabbed somebody because he was mad. You could have very easily done that in 6 or 7 words. But they didn't, because they were trying to force a narrative. This is media propaganda. This is psychological warfare. This is not an innocent attempt to spread news. This is a direct and meaningful attempt to twist a story, knowing that so many of the readers will just pass by and glaze over the title and keep going. This is going to make, quote, far-right people and, quote, anti-Islamic people look very bad, because there's that presumption that they're the ones doing the stabbing. They're not talking about the guy who actually did the stabbing in the headline. They're not painting a negative picture of the guy who did the stabbing in the headline. The one who did the wrong in this is not even mentioned in the headline as far as his background or what his political or religious beliefs are. They're just talking about the victims in this case, but turning it around to make it look like they are somehow the bad guys and giving that negative light on them when it's not right, not accurate, and it's a flat and outright lie in this case. Now, one of the organizations, Sky News, they got their hands slapped and they actually backed off of it a little bit more, just a little bit now. If you notice this first post they had, police officer stabbed during attack at far-right rally dies. Well, they apparently got a little bit of blowback, and if you look down here at the very bottom, they actually got a little bit of an Elon Musk. Twitter and X is really good now because you and I can actually go in there and correct stories. Remember the fact checkers that always debunked, quote unquote, I say that laughingly, they always debunked all of the right-leaning stuff during, again, that event where your people got shots in their arms. But they never put fact-checking stuff out once all of the lies were debunked. On X, since Elon Musk took over, you can go in there and you can say what you need to say, and you can change, at least from a contextual standpoint, what needs to be said. Readers added context they thought people might want to know. Headline is misleading and could lead readers of the headline to believe a far-right activist perpetuated the stabbing. The perpetrator was a 25-year-old Afghan counter-protester. Oops. So Sky went back and changed their headline to read, Germany knife attack. Police officer dies of his injuries. They took the far-right part out of it and didn't mention anything about anti-Islam and made sure that they still told the story. This is at least a little bit more of an accurate story because it's not trying to throw shade on the anti-Islamic protesters or what their event was. Remember, again, this protest had not even begun yet. So this person who did the stabbing had not heard one word about anything. He was just here because of what the subject matter and the content of the protest was going to be. Now, if you read their sub-headline, they still didn't back completely off of it. They still say, a police officer who was stabbed during an attack at a far-right rally in Germany has died. That was under their corrected headline. So they're still sticking to the agenda. They probably can't get completely off of that. But nevertheless, they did make the change. And yeah, they're still, this is probably as far as they expect most people to read anyway, to the sub-headline, and then they're just going to move on to the next story. So they probably still accomplished what they were trying to accomplish by lying anyway and making up this false narrative. But at least they got enough pushback where they did have to change it. And most of that pushback, again, came from X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. This happens all over the world. This is the kind of stuff that is being pushed. You're going to see way more of this as we roll into the election season, as it gets hotter and hotter and hotter in the election season. You're going to see things left out of headlines. You're going to see things included in headlines that don't belong there. You're going to see headlines where you think you know the whole story. I suggest you read the stories. Even though the stories can still be manipulated and worded to still not tell you everything, obviously most of them are like that, most of the stories, most of us, you guys and myself, can read between the lines and put together what the real story is, even though some of the facts might be left out or not reported properly. So I just encourage everybody to read the stories. If it's not an interesting enough story to read, then don't take the headline and run with it, because it can make you look silly. And in this case, you may be spreading some bad information, because I would be willing to bet that some of these people ran with these headlines and they spread some bad information from both sides, the far right and the far left. Either one of those could have taken this story and run with, man, did you see what happened? And boom, then this, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Yep, never mind, I was wrong. Finally, in closing, I have to ask, I wonder if the Muslim terrorist who stabbed these people, if he dies, are his 72 virgins women or 6-year-old boys? I can hear the headline now. Guy on YouTube taunts Muslims while eating bacon to enrage and mobilize the far right. Where's my beer?
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's so horrible.